So, have you ever had to explain how to do something to someone? Did you find it easy to explain it? Most likely, it is not easy to explain. Explaining technical information is even more challenging. And honestly, anything can be technical once you try to explain it. An instructions manual allows you to write very simple, short, concise steps. Consider your audience, because you're assuming they might be anywhere between, even experts may know how to do something overall, but you've got to make sure what information is needed for them and what can be left out if they're experts on how to do something. Considering if your audience are beginners, intermediates, or experts is what's key with this. And considering your ethical responsibilities of using warning labels, reminders, and very simple terminology, so nothing is accidentally overlooked. And keeping that document design where you have key organizational skills to categorize your steps by groups if needed, grouping your information. So with this instructions manual project, before you even get started writing it, once you have a topic, identify your audience. It helps you describe the language or tone. If the audience is new to your topic, very new, beginners, they've never completed this task before, they've never learned how to do this before, very simple vocabulary, no jargon, remove any kind of jargon. If the audience has a general understanding but still learning a lot of information, maybe they're intermediates, like maybe they know about, they have a car, they know how to drive a car, but they don't know how to change a tire, that's an example. Make sure everything, if you do use jargon, you include a definition of it after. If they're experts, then you can use jargon, right? It's helpful just to know who your audience is. And then you still use section headings to organize your document and bullet points to keep everything short and concise. Otherwise, the audience would be completely lost. I mean, you've probably been in this situation. Have you ever tried to put something together and did you immediately get frustrated? Even if the steps were clear, like we always joke about building furniture and the steps that they include in it, but even then it's frustrating. We try to skip things and we think we can do it on our own and ends up being a headache. So this is a way to test how you convey information to an audience. Getting started with the topic. What's your topic going to be? First and foremost, definitely choose a topic that you know how to put together. You know how to do, because the steps should be entirely written from your point of view. You don't want to borrow any kind of information from a website or a source. So these are just some examples. It doesn't have to be any of these. Topics are endless with this, you all. So it's entirely up to you. Anything can become technical, in my opinion. There are 4 required sections for this project: an introduction section, a tools and equipment section, the steps section, and the conclusion. So those are your 4 section headings, basically, in the document. With the introduction, it's random to just say, okay, get started. Step 1, assemble your ingredients. You don't want to start with the steps. The introduction is a short, tiny little paragraph that discusses what is about to be explained, meaning what is your topic, and then include the scope. The scope tells the audience what will be covered and what won't be covered, meaning is there other information the audience should know about that isn't part of the step process they're about to read. For example, if you're explaining how to change a tire, maybe explain that you're not going to explain how to also change the oil. That's just the scope of changing a tire. Discuss what the audience needs in terms of knowledge and background, meaning is this project, are these instructions for beginners, intermediates, or experts? Don't forget to include that. Sometimes we skip that. It's that part like, well, my instructor knows already, so I don't have to include it. I'm not your audience for this. The people who are learning these steps are your audience. What will the instructions accomplish? What will they have by the end of it? What will be the completed product of it all? Discuss if there's a specific environment, day, or time for these instructions, that they should be followed, or if it's important that they should not be followed. Like, I'll go back to the changing tire. Sometimes you can't control where that's going to happen, but should they be safely off the road? Most likely, yes, right? That's a specific environment. Specific day, lighting. Do they need to be in a well-lit area, outside, inside? Do they need to have a strong surface table to complete something. Don't forget that stuff. It's so important because your audience needs to know as well. And then what are the rest of the sections in the document? So let us know. I know, but your audience doesn't know. The tools and equipment section. This is kind of wonky, and it's something that's officially part of instructions manual. So it's important to distinguish and differentiate between the two. Before you explain your steps, the audience needs to know what kind of tools and equipment they need. Because if you say you need a wrench, if step 5 mentions to grab the wrench, but they didn't know that, they'll be frustrated, right? So they don't know what they need. So before that, you need a tools and equipment. This is good as a bulleted list. So list your items, vertical or in a 2-column list, but you want to separate them between tools and equipment. Tools are the items used in the steps, meaning the objects that you hold that help assist with the steps. For example, a paintbrush, a bowl, like if you're baking, a bowl, if you're crafting something, a pen or a paper, if you're putting together a software or downloading a software, the keyboard and the computer, those are the tools. So they're the objects that help assist in the steps. It's often the objects that you hold that help you. The equipment is separate, so separate it. And it's the supplies that go into the steps that create the steps. Basically, anything that's in the final product, the paint itself, the eggs if you're baking something, the ink if you're explaining how to change a printer ink, wood if it's something like, if it's some type of building project, plastic, codes for a computer. So those are the objects, the supplies that go into the step. If you're doing anything food related, I would change the word equipment to ingredients. That makes more sense and it sounds better, right? Equipment doesn't. Instead of one long column, use 2 columns if you're including definitions. These are all official rules for TechWriter. So here's an example of tools and equipment. If you're doing a makeup look, the tools are the objects that help, that my hand would hold when I put them together. The brushes, the mirror, the eyelash curler. But the equipment becomes the eyeshadow, the makeup product, right? The mascara, the blush. I don't think I mentioned it, did I? If you feel that they need to know a particular brand for any of the tools and equipment, don't hesitate to include the brand. Like this one, they included the brand for the eyeshadow and the mascara and for the brushes, but they felt you don't need a specific brand mirror or eyelash curler. Whatever brand is recommended for some of the products is important as well. It helps your audience. The next part is the most important part. It's the steps. It's critical. So critical, you guys. Be very careful with this, that these steps are 100% written by you only. You don't want to copy and paste any steps from any website or any source. That's not a good topic choice for you then. You want to choose a topic that you can explain how to do in your own words, because that becomes plagiarism. So you can lose a lot of points for that. Let me know if you have questions. There should be more than 20 steps. Consider the following. You can list your steps 1 through 20 or whatever the last step is, at least 20, but you can go more, meaning 1, 2, 3, all the way to your last step. In my opinion, that's more of a headache and that's more confusing. It helps you when you write them if you group the steps by subcategories. For example, if I was explaining how to put together a dollhouse, my first category is first, assemble furniture in the dollhouse. And these are the steps for that. Then assemble the walls in the dollhouse, because those are separate little tasks that don't follow a sequential order altogether. So it's better to group. Not all topics work that way, but it's, in my opinion, a little easier to group. And that's critical with that as well. And just so you have an idea, actually, you want your steps extremely short and concise. So in this file here, be careful with wordy steps. We will then go to the Instagram app. Then you will click on the app. Third, we can select the plus sign. You will then be taken to your photo gallery. Words like will then, or if you have the number and then you're typing the number for this step, that's wordy, it's unclear, and it's too much. Keep those steps clear, short, and concise. It gives you more steps to write with too, where you start with the action, the verb, and then finish the action. What do you want them to do? Go where? To the Instagram app. Click what? The app. Select what? Find what? So start with the verb and finish the sentence. If the sentence has a second verb, then include it as a next step. That'll add more steps to your document. So keep these clear, concise, and again, write these in second person point of view. Second person point of view is using the words you or your. That's efficient because it is audience aware. You're speaking to the audience directly. This is a very helpful link as well if you'd like to learn more about second person and just keeping your steps short and concise. Oh, so important. And then before I get to the conclusion, I'm going to skip something really quick. It is your communicator responsibility to use warning labels. Warning, caution, danger, and notices. That's human ethics. A tech writer could get in a lot of trouble if they don't include that because the audience's safety is not considered. Even if your topic doesn't sound serious, it's part of the grading rubric that you include some kind of reminder for for a few of those steps. You don't want them to miss something important. They would be frustrated if a warning wasn't included and they'd have to start over, or maybe something was damaged, or they broke something, or they'd have to go out and buy something new. It's a frustration, right? So it doesn't have to be serious, but I want to show you this file too, using these warning labels. Warning labels are important design elements. They're just these visual reminders so the audience knows not to overlook a step that's important. Now, not every step needs a warning label. You don't have to overdo it with the warning labels, but ask yourself, does this step need to be emphasized more than others? Does overlooking this step lead to negative outcomes? Does overlooking lead to an embarrassing situation? Does overlooking lead to damaging equipment, tools, projects, ingredients, etc.? Does overlooking the step lead to minor, major, or serious injury or death? Any of those, serious or not, need to be included for some of the steps. So you put it right with the step that it's relevant with. But there are 4 official types of warning labels, and they're ranked by severity. So a note, and it's italicized and bolded like you're seeing there. So type it like that exactly. A note is used to emphasize and remind the audience about something. Helps them overlook a minor detail. So if you don't have a serious topic, you're going to use notes more. Caution, if you notice how it's formatted. So note is bolded, italicized, and they have it directly next to it. Notice those visual reminders. A caution is not bolded, not italicized. It's on top and the text is below. Cautions are used to warn the audience about potential damage to an outcome, equipment, tool, ingredient, etc. So if the step isn't followed properly, they might be embarrassed. They might have to restart. They might damage their equipment. They might have to buy something else. It'll change the outcome. So the caution is also great for that. Warning, if you notice, it looks like the note. It's italicized and bolded, and the text is next to it. This is used to warn possibility of minor injury to themselves or others. And then danger, you can already tell by the way it looks, right? It looks serious. It's in all caps, the word danger, and it even has, if you want, it's optional, but you can include it in a text box, so that border around it, and you write it right next to it all in that font. Use this to warn the audience of serious injury. Just the way it looks, right? It pops out. So just be careful with that, because that's a part of the grade, serious topic or not, where any of the steps where it's relevant, include those with it. And then in the conclusion, brief little paragraph. Why is learning this important? What does it benefit the audience? What do they learn after completing this? Why should they learn this? You get a little persuasive here. I used to require, you all are in a summer class, so we don't have enough time. So there's an extra credit option, 5 points. If you also include 2 sources, in your conclusion that prove that importance. So for example, if my topic is about how to download antivirus software, I would find 2 sources about the serious issue with identity theft. Those sources are there to elevate and prove why they need to learn how to download antivirus software. If it's about changing the oil in the car, maybe I would find 2 sources about any source. I'm just giving examples here that discuss the importance of car maintenance, that it saves money, saves time. If my topic is about creating a new shade of lipstick, 2 articles about vegan and cruelty-free makeup. Don't hesitate if you want to try this extra credit. Now, don't skip the conclusion. You still need a conclusion paragraph, but you can simply just explain why learning it's important and why does it benefit the audience and stop there. If you want to go for the full extra credit, find 2 sources and include the APA in-text citation to prove that those 2 sources were used in your conclusion paragraph section. So that's extra credit. It's usually a requirement, but we just don't have enough time in our summer school class. Required format, type it up, of course, Microsoft Word or Google Docs file. Some students try PowerPoint with this project. I don't think it works well with the design, in my opinion, so I would stick with Word or Google Docs. A title page that's designed related to the topic. You don't want it to look like a classroom assignment, right? Design it with a photo and a title. Use the active voice. We've been learning about active voice. This is passive. The USB will then be used for you to transfer the file. It's too wordy. Instead, we can start with the action. Insert USB into the computer to transfer file. Short, concise, and always starts with that action for the steps. Write that in second person point of view. Yours is welcomed with this project. It's efficient. It speaks to the audience directly. You can include your own photos if you'd like to show parts of the process. You can find some online, place them next to or below the step, and include an image caption of what that photo has. And then we talked about that. Now, if you do the in-text citations, extra credit will be given if you have the correct APA in-text citation in the conclusion paragraph, and also that you include the reference page of your 2 sources used in APA format. So I'll have some APA files, and feel free to reach out to me if you have APA questions, if you're going to do that extra credit opportunity. But take a look at the samples too, just so you can see how students used warning labels, how they wrote the steps. Trying to find the student samples. Here they are. I've got a few. Got some new ones here, which is great. I'm excited. These are very recent. They're fresh. Let's see. Let me show you this one. This is her cover photo, and then introduction paragraph, and then definition, because it's for beginners, what it means, the tools and equipment, and then she's got it by category. Setting up steps, there's her warning label, start burning steps, finishing up steps, and then the conclusion. So you're going to see sources used in these conclusion paragraphs because, like I said, in a regular full-length semester, it's required, but we just don't have enough time in summer school. And then the references. So let me know if y'all have any questions. I'm excited.